Okay, everybody. So we're basically waiting for a few more people to get in, but what we're going to talk about today is I was asked to bring the direct market capital raising into practicality, and how do you practically go from a niche to talking to that exact person and understanding how to raise capital, set up phone calls, educate people in a space, and really see your steps forward when you're picking a niche in what you're doing. So Kim and Jerry, I'm working with right now, and they are working with financial advisors on their side. Okay. And I'd always suggest someone to pick your niches based off of really solving a problem for someone. Okay. Because solving a problem is the most practical things, whether you're talking to teachers, whether you're talking to lawyers, whether you're talking to doctors, whether you're talking to firemen, whether you're talking to I think what's the other one? The auto industry, right? Execs at the auto industry. Every single thing that when you first start as a personal brand is talking to someone, solving their problem, and getting them to one, know more about you, because most of the time it's never really about the investment, but it's mostly about, do they trust you? And I always say that's one of the first things you have to understand as a personal brand or anybody, is that they have to trust in you because you are what they're investing in. There's 1,000 people who oopty oopty, this is the best investment, flip houses, and they get scammed, a million people. All that happens. So what you have to understand is that most of the time it really comes down to who you are as a person, as well as trusting that you know what you're talking about in that manner. And what I always say is that people give blind trust, okay? Blind trust exists completely in this world. You see that there's all sorts of scams that people have, like Fortune 500 companies investing in this company that ends up going bankrupt and scamming them. So you have to think that even when people have the best weapons, the most capable to do their due diligence, all the things that they could possibly do, it really comes down to the personal brand and who invited you into the space and how you got into the space that keeps you in the space longer and longer and longer and becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, what most people think when they pick a niche and they go directly for someone is, well, I'm going to cancel all these people out. But what you don't ever put into account when you're not doing direct marketing, is how long you stall your activity of beginning the process. People rarely ever put that into account of how much it costs, which is opportunity cost. Every day you don't put out a piece of content. Every day you don't reach out to a client. Every day you don't step into the business. There's a cost of that. And when you're talking to too many people, it's really hard to build a broad message, and for you to be a broad marketer, or have the time, energy, or effort to be a broad marketer. That takes a lot of money, time, and energy to be very broad. Okay. And I always say that to people: if you want to be broad, you better have the pocketbooks to drop into talking to everybody in the world, and hopefully anybody with money believes you're talking to them. When at the same time, everybody else is getting millions of marketing messages every single day. And for you to stand out, you have to be talking to them, and it has to feel like it's a little bit more personal. And that's where direct marketing comes in. So now, every basic process is what I'm teaching right now, which is, how do you, if you're not doing cold calling, here's one thing I always say is that one of the Dan Pena statements was, you're always 2,000 cold calls away from being a millionaire. Okay. Just most people don't want to do it as well. But however you decide to set, there's two different strategies. There's the cold call person, and the person who becomes what we call an expert in the space and builds that residual over time. Okay. So an expert in space can actually slingshot, right? Can slingshot ahead of people by using what we call micro influencers at the same time to get you in a space, right? So they're talking to financial advisors, right? So what we could do is we could go find someone, financial advisor, who's on YouTube, or a financial advisor who's on TikTok or something, who's teaching something, and you offer them a brand opportunity to work with you. Why? Because maybe that's not the kind of thing you want to do, is create a bunch of content. But if you're still not creating content, there's nothing for those people to go back to. But if you also create a micro brand in your space, right? There's micro brand teachers, there's micro brand lawyers. But if you have a good product and a good system that makes a lot more money, a lot of these brand influencers and stuff like that don't have what I would consider substance, right? They don't have a substance to what they're creating at a point in time. So when you're doing direct marketing, what you're able to do is also attach to that. So bringing that all back into what I will always bring down is, who are you talking to, right? And how do you actually get that person either to set up a call with you or for you to set up a call with them. Now, today we're going to go over direct marketing and cold outreach, and then a few softwares that I use to do certain things to get me going absolutely fast. And sorry, I'm adding a few more people right now. They're popping in to get things going absolutely fast, right? Because the first thing is, if you're trying to set up a call with someone, you have to be able to directly be talking to them and then understand how to send a message out to them, and then learn from that first engagement of sending the email out, right? I always say that in the reality of this, there's 1,000 emails of people in your space, and you have to learn how to hit your message correctly. And then most of the time people start from, they're like, I have no idea where to start from. They're just like, okay, well, if I'm going to send out a group of emails to my group of people, where do I start in that? Now, if you know your niche in any way, it makes the process a lot easier for you. And I'm actually going to show a basic example right now and give you guys a basic example of what ChatGPT can do with just the basic information and getting you over the, what I call the stalling curve, which is like, I don't know how to do this, and for some reason I can't make it happen, right? That's where most people they get into this stalling curve of, how fast can I make this happen, and can I get it out? The reality is that people are investing in you. So if you're trying to get people on the phone, or if you're trying to set up a meeting, or if you're trying to educate them with a video, however that seems to be. Now, hands down, video is the best place to go, hands down. And the reason why is because most people don't tell you this, especially marketers. When people create an extreme amount of content, is because most of the time they find out is that people can't differentiate watching you on a video and getting education from you, and then listening a little bit about your life and why you're doing it, and then actually sitting there and talking to you in person. So your subconscious can't change, they can't decipher that most of the time. That's why a lot of people go fan crazy, sports crazy, all these other kinds of crazies, is because there's a part of you that starts to connect with someone after you watch them more and more, sometimes doing what they do best, sometimes, whatever that takes. There's a subconsciousness that comes with that, of building a relationship. So that's why video content is so important, if you can do it and if you're willing to do it, and just to put yourself out there, because most people are average people, right? And I always say that to people, which is like, everybody tries to be the most professional they absolutely can, but the reality is, you are a person that's talking to someone else who's most people as well, and putting your best foot forward sometimes comes with delivering the best context over everything else. Some people look at really trying to look the best or be the best in this situation, but really don't put the time in, and just understanding the context matters the most, because the person who's receiving it needs to receive it. So that's a lot said. So with doing that, now picking a niche, we're going to talk about a couple different websites I use to strategize to getting myself a little bit further along the curve with speed of one thing today, which is developing landing pages, developing basic copy, and then being able to adjust from there. I always test things, because what I always realize, what works best for the customer versus what I think is best, is always really needs to be determined on the customer. Because what I realized is, even me, I can think myself out of success. I can think myself out of what works versus what I think is best over times, and then versus not testing. So let me share my screen. Let's see, can we do this? Okay, it's generating right now. So that being said, the practical part is, now, when you're picking a niche and you're trying to take yourself to the next level, the first thing is that when you're putting out content, you need someone to land at a page, receive something, and they need to be going down a path that you choose. I always say that if you don't choose the path, they will, and lost people never make good decisions. They just don't. They don't. A lost person never makes a good decision. And most people are so used to receiving what they're looking for when they're going somewhere that if you don't understand the art of talking to the right person, giving them what you're telling you're going to receive, and then getting to that back end and setting up a call, having a conversation, that can happen a lot quicker when the messaging is all the way through. Now, so this is a practical version of what I am doing for a system that I just created, right? So this is a software we call, I think it's called Writesonic, okay? And I use it for all sorts of writing stuff, mostly because it attaches to my brand identity, which is whatever I decide to make my voice sound like based off of how I talk. I'm very direct. I want to be like, yo, ROI in this. I want to have less inside and out conversations. But this is one of the websites landing page builders, and you have to prompt it, right? Because if you're sitting here right now and you're like, I'm trying to build a website and I need to get it out, and I don't know what to write on it, the first thing I always do is prompt it first, and then I test it versus what I think may be better. That's what I always do, which is you want to step in a space of prompting it versus AI and then what you think may be better. And you want those two things to battle against it as you get closer and closer into your niche and you change things around from a direct. But like I always say, the first thing you want to do is be able to get something out there to be standing to driving traffic to, and you want to know who you're talking to. So this is the idea that this is for an automotive landing page. So when I go into this software, the first thing I do is I tell it the project's name, which is Auto Investments, right? I'm going to say that's the company name. And it's going to say Auto Investments is a company that helps auto industry people, right, help make thousands of dollars or save thousands of dollars for retirement. That's what I have on that side. And I have it in a document as well so that you guys can see the descriptions that I put into this Writesonic that's going to drive its initial website building position. Now, this is the website that it built out for me automatically with the copy that is on there. Let's see. Got you. So with this copy on the system, we're looking at directly being able to build out. Now, you may want to connect your own like inside pieces. These are just objects, but it gives you the basic features of pros and cons and features of what you're putting on there. And then you can write in depth more and more as you want, creating these little pieces based off of photos that you want, but giving you the copy you can do to create a basic landing page for the person you're trying to talk to. Now, in that delivery, now that's the first thing you need is like, okay, I need a landing page. I need to get that done. So creating using AI, trying to get that stuff done in the positioning. And then with that, the next thing you want to do is you want to have a brand that attaches to the colors and the scheme that you're able to do that. Now, that is where your basic landing page comes in at being able to execute it pretty fast. Now, you want to put some personal branding stuff inside of your page because, like I said, people are investing in you. People don't really invest blindly in major companies, and that's really a hard fallacy to believe if you think that you're going to be able to grow the brand, put it out there, and not put your personal self out there and think that they're going to invest in a look and an absolute overall feel of something that's not you are the person who's, you know, deciding to invest in these notes. So now, right now, looking at trying to build something out and getting things started with Kim and Jerry, who were here, who were talking to financial advisors, building their page out, getting their bios, getting their stuff, build it out. Now, the first thing we're going to do is after getting them leads is going to put people into a cold campaign. Now, for you, everybody says is it's the steps that getting to that process that really stops them from, you know, getting to that next level. So I just broke out some basic prompts to get an overview of things that we can rewrite to get them started. And I use ChatGPT for that. Now I'm going to show you that the one thing I said is that we want a persuasive email for my company, First Shield Financial, teaching financial advisors who are investing in mortgage notes, right? So the basic process of what they're doing, like give me an email to just basically send out to them. Now, what it does is it sends out a basic email here and it writes up the whole system through the process. And some of these things that they have here in these blocks, depending on what software you're using, when you're implementing into the email, all you have to do is put your blocks and replace it there. You don't have to put your name, but you can make it unique to the overall company, right? And it'll break down some of the things that are in here. You'll be like, oh, I like some of the things. I don't like some of the things. You pull it, you switch it up. Maybe you make it your own brand. The first thing I always say is test both first, right? Because what people say to me all the time is what I've heard, which is like, oh, it sounds really blocky, or it sounds like AI wrote it. And I say, okay, well, that may be true, but you have to be able to outright it. And then you have to be able to do the numbers, because don't play in the game of I think I know, play in the game of the numbers show. I always say that. Don't play the game I think I know, play in the name of the numbers show. So what you do is you compete versus the base of what you have, but it allows you to get a base out there. Look at it, rewrite it, it simplifies things, and you put it out there. So the first thing that I did after looking at it, I was like, oh, that's kind of long. You know, somebody who doesn't know me may not read that. So I said, you know, write another version and then make it a little bit shorter. And I want them to set up a free educational call. From there, I have them break down it, make it a little bit of a shorter email, because I'm like, oh, let's get a little bit of key points. Let's make it direct. And guess what? Maybe I'll make those two compete versus each other to see which is the most direct to do so. So that's the test of going from there to then directly setting up a call with that person. And because you know who you're talking to, really asking them what they're looking for in their returns and their investment for their clients. And are they looking to use something as the, you know, leverage point of why people invest with you? Because this is a thing that most people don't know about. And I can be your advisor and I can send you whatever you need based off of the notes and stuff. We have that. Now, what you guys have to understand is that you're not even, you don't even necessarily have to do an extreme amount of marketing like most people do. You have to do an extreme amount of upfront meeting, because the people who continuously run into this money, like these financial advisors here, right? Or someone who has the investment bank, they really are wanting you to hit them up when you have a deal. Most people don't want to get hit up all the time. They want to be hit up when you have a deal. So your biggest part of your business is the upfront value that you get someone in, because even your follow-up and, you know, you may be reminded them like happy birthday and stuff like that is a lot of personal branding. Because the reality is they're going to want to really be hit up when you got a deal. No one wants their emails blowing up. You want your emails to be sent out when you're looking at a deal and you've now made 15, 20 connections with people in your space that are like, yo, if you have a deal that's a sign, I'll definitely like to hit it up. And you hit them with a deal when it happens. And you talk to them about the deal and you position them in a deal and you educate them about the deal. Because the reality is there's not enough education reality that gets people to really want to go out on their own and pull their own triggers. When you're handing it to them on a platter of education, that's how they gain trust. They gain a lot of trust in understanding what you're doing and who you are and why you're trying to give it to them. But it all comes with a lot of the upfront brand. Now, with that being an upfront brand, right, we're looking at a little bit of a back-end brand, and this is a direct indication of like how they're going to get started. So for me and my software, depending on what software you're using, Kartra, Wix, whatever you have an email campaign strategy. So for them, the very first thing we do is like, okay, we have a cold outreach here. Now, in a cold outreach decision of all sorts of things, I'm able to take a list of emails that I scraped, around 500 emails, and then put them into this list and send them out this cold email. And then I can do it with this automation in dashes, which is like, okay, 10 this hour, 10 this hour, 10 this hour, trying to see how people are responding as we're testing a group of emails that are going out to those customers, trying to get them to set up a call in that exact niche that we're talking about, right? That's how you're stepping into the space. So for them, we're looking at one of the workflows that are in the back of my system, and it has add a workflow to the email that we have started. Here is where also the amazing part of being unique really comes into play with the software, and as well as for them, which is where it says coming from, it gets to say user's first name. So either one of them, depending on which user it is, could use this email, and it will fulfill the gaps in those emails to those direct people, and it will track them through the back end of my system, and they can also use this on their phone at any time as well, when they're going to be able to get it fully connected, which means if somebody responds to it at any point in time, if they get a response on their phone, they'll be able to connect with that lead and send them possibly an email back. And it doesn't matter if they're in front of their laptop or if they're anywhere else, they're able to connect to their database. Now with here, you'll be able to take these things that says, dear financial advisor's name, because we scrape them and we have their name, we'll be able to take this here, go to contacts and go to first name here. And then they will be able to implement whatever contact comes through the list, first name. And that's your very first push of what you're looking for, right? That's why it's important for you to know who you're talking to, solving their problems. Because now you're looking at a 3-step situation that we're looking at. 1, we've scraped the emails. 2, we have built out a basic AI landing page strategy and put a little bit of a spin of a personal brand in there. Hey, this is who I am. This is me and my company. We're legit on this side. 2, then we're able to go on the back end of that and then start to send out cold emails directing them to a professional looking brand that already has colors, look, and feel. Now, with that process, it's all about getting it done first and getting it going. From there, once it's going, I always say optimize from where you can start. Don't optimize before you start. Optimize from where you can start. So getting those 3 things connected, now everything is already started and all we have to do is see them go in and try to set up appointments. Now, if they don't set up appointments, what do? Guess what? We still have their emails. We know some people opened it, some people didn't based off of our numbers. We're going to be like, okay, well, let's try something else. Let's send out a whole different email to the same list. Let's drip campaign it. Let's add it. Let's get a little bit more personal. Let's add a video. Then we send that out. And we're going to sit there and test the situation. Some people will say, yes, I hate you. Unsubscribe me. That's life. It's called sales. Get over it. I promise you, if you can't get over that, you will never be able to make money in an industry where you're trying to get people's attention, because being direct also annoys the same amount of people as it attracts. Neutral gets you nowhere. It gets you a simple position of never being noticed and then absolutely being boring and no one cares about you. So that's where that personal branding and being funnier, connecting the dots really comes down to it. Because like I said, every person is a person. And even when they receive your emails, if you have an ability to put a little bit more of your personal brand in there as well and be funnier, do that, people always say, well, if you don't want to do all those things, people are opening up these boring ass emails, no offense, all day long. I open up boring emails all day long. And as soon as someone does catch my attention, for me, I think it's kind of funny. And if it's a funny story or something that gets me connected with a product or something, I always like going with that rather than I like hearing the boring, like, this is what I can do for you. Make you rich, Ricky Mitch, rich in 30 days, get you rich. Like, that's what most people are doing. But if someone said, oh my God, funny story about my daughter, it's like, to me, it's like, oh yeah, I have a daughter. That connects the dots with me, right? It may not connect with everybody, but for me, I'm like, oh, funny story about a daughter, right? I connect with that. So I have a digital marketer guy who I know pretty much everything about his life. And I've spent probably $40,000-$50,000 over the last 3 or 4 years with him. And I know a lot about him and his family based off of what he releases. Probably don't know the deep depths of who they really are, but I feel like I know him a little bit more because his messages usually come directly to me, making a joke or cracking a code or something, and really being anti-big business and always being, direct about, this is what I'm trying to do. And I like that. So for you in your position of your brand, you have to really think about that. It's the outreach, it's the beginning. So, and what I always say is sometimes people, when you first set up your back reach, which is what we're doing right now, a direct marketing campaign, setting up a landing page, getting emails scraped, sending out those emails and testing them, see if you can get anybody interested, talking a little about yourself, trying to introduce it, get on a phone call. It's an absolutely free phone call to talk to them about notes and where they're trying to go in investment, so you can really start to learn their pains. Because if you don't get on a call with somebody and learn their pains and learn where their mistakes are and their commonalities in their space, sometimes you may be missing the mark all the time when talking to that exact person, and sometimes talking to them and asking them why, or why makes you invest in this over this? Like, is there a policy that I'm missing? Maybe there's a reason if financial advisors don't invest in this and we need to go for a totally different niche. But we only learn that from hitting the nail on trying to get them to invest with us and then learning where their positions stand. And it's like, okay, maybe we don't need to go for them. We need to go for the hedge funds owners. Okay, cool. We have to set a different position. Now you've spoken to people and you're like, hey, can leverage that person in community, because your people around you build your best business. And talking to someone and giving them good advice and talking about the brand and not, doing that, and then maybe reaching up to their advisor, like, oh, can I set up a call with your, Bam and Bam to talk about these things that we have for a couple $1 million that we can do that. You don't know any of this stuff until you're talking to your customer. Now you're talking to a regular person who's like, man, I'm really trying to invest my money. most of the time what they're going to be is against the system that they're in that's taking these taxes out of their money every single month, right? So it's like, yo, if you have a 401k, you're a teacher, right? You have this 401k, and if you don't self-invest this into yourself, what you're going to do is like you're going to lose, 10, 20, 30, $40,000 in the end of the day because these people are taking events. But what you can do with me is you can invest in notes, and I can have you self-invest in real estate like banks, and your money actually grows tenfold, and you actually see your money growing every single month, and it comes to you in a check. Like, just imagine that. Now, so if I can teach you all about this and how it works and how I do this, so you can absolutely know that it is the ability to do so, because you're on an education campaign and a trust campaign. And the reality is, the more they absolutely know, what they don't do, what people think people do is, this is what I call the cynical in everybody. Everybody has the feeling that if they go and teach somebody something, they're just going to take it themselves and go do it, right? The reality is, most people don't want to take the risk. You can teach them everything. You can say it's almost not risking, but the fact that they get to say that you're going to take the risk and they get to give it to you is enough power for someone not to do it themselves and make sure that you do it, even though you've educated them down the process. Now, in that same process, you're getting deals and you're pitching these people on these deals. And if they're pitching them or not pitching them, you'll realize really quickly if they're about, investing this money or not, right? So getting that clear, and then when you getting your first couple is your snowball effect, right? Because the reality is, in your business, as soon as you get someone invested in a note and the note starts paying out, they're starting to see the check, man. They're gonna then you say, hey, can I get a testimonial? 3 or 4 testimonials impacts your business almost 10x. 10x. And you guys are in the business of literally doing paper money, right? You guys are in the business of actually sending out checks to people if they're buying notes with you guys. So you actually have such a good business model where it's not like, it's a rental person and that person is a rental and that person has to deal with all this. Like, nah, man, we're actually sending out mailbox checks. Right? If you're in the teacher space, you can literally say things. We're sending mailbox checks out to teachers everywhere, teaching them how to self-invest. We're sending mailbox checks out to lawyers everywhere. We know they want to retire early, learn the business, because the reality is you're actually hard. Every single month you're sending out these checks to be able to get people into the business and really get them going and really get them pushing, okay? So if you guys have any questions, this is the question away, but this is the basic system that you have to be able to implement no matter what website you're on, no matter what, if you're on Wix, no matter if you're on Kartra. If you can do this, this is what can get you off the ground. Writing your basic emails with ChatGPT, getting a basic sequence and maybe having to write 10 or 12 emails and testing them out, rewriting them and resending them out to more lists, getting the emails you need in the niche that you're talking to, and then writing the landing page based off of the people you're talking to and the problems you're solving, right? And I'm gonna have these 2 examples that I did today, and I'm gonna be able to tag those out and send those out for you guys with the websites that I use as well, for you to be able to get into your niche and be able to get that out there. That's going to be the video with this one. That's going to be in the marketing class in the note industry. So this will be there with these documents on there as well.
So it's time for me to race.
And as well as I can share them with you guys right now, if you guys wanted to be able to see them and look over them so you guys can see them. But if you guys have any questions, raise your hand. We can go over anything that you guys are dealing with right now in the marketing space, what you're thinking about on that side, and then see where I can help you.
So the email when we send out, especially with that IG, the scraper, should it redirect to our website, right? Like contact us or something?
So yeah, you can send them to a basic like free so there's different ways you can base it, right? So the first thing is you can send them to a free educational based type video that they can watch really quickly. That's like quick to digest. And what I would say is that because you're talking to financial advisors, sometimes saying like this will be quick and change your life type things may be the types of things that you can talk to. If you're talking to doctors or if you're talking to whoever, speaking on the terms of like, I know you don't have much time, but if you're a teacher, maybe speaking on their problems a little bit more because they may have time to watch a little bit of a video and express it. And here's what I always say is that a quick video to a long video is really where you want to go, because people who are really interested in something, when they want to dive into a video or education that they think is interesting, they'll actually watch a longer video and get a lot more from it if you could express, what you're doing, and then is what it's good for them to be doing and why they should be doing it, and kind of getting that message dialed in. Because what you guys have to understand is that your messaging getting dialed in is the importance of how to raise your capital, is your messaging dialed in. So you go from scraping the emails, scraping the emails, putting the emails into a sequence, writing the email sequence in ChatGPT, rewriting them, testing them against each other, and then adding them to these sequences, and then running them to one, either go to a website where there's a video and you're talking about something, and then they can set up a call, or directly to a calendar to set up a free educational information to pay somewhat the base. I would say test both of them, because when you test both of them, it lets you know what people are most likely to do. Are people most likely to do this? Are people most likely to do that? And I always say you never know until you test it. And that's why I say you can choose between setting up a calendar link and then the other one showing them to a video, and see who takes the most action. Yes, I see you with your hand raised. Boom.
Oh, hi, sorry, this is Lorva.
Hello.
I'm really new, so this is like a lot for me.
I know.
But I'm just gonna
sorry.
ask my questions anyway, even though I might have missed it. You're
Okay.
talking about scraping emails. What do you mean? From where?
So here, let's break this down here. Okay, so I bought this one. So I have a different scraper, but I bought this scraper for you guys. Okay, so this is called igleads.io. Okay, it's a scraper, and you can scrape things from many different places, right? So I'm testing things right now on this scraper. So right here, looking at different, it says it has market deals in here for emails of houses, real estate, and then financial advisors and yoga teachers. And this is what I use to do cold edge marketing when I first get started, is that you're able to scrape it from Facebook, you can scrape it from Instagram, you can scrape it from LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Google, right? This thing even has real estate homes. So if you're looking to scrape something else in another business to get real estate deals here, they have B2B Finder. If you're looking to go get emails from another business that you're looking for, their emails or their whole team to be able to get the emails out, right? So this is just another way that people do scraping of emails to be able to get a cold industry out. Is you literally click on here. Like I can go to LinkedIn. Let's go to show an example. So I'll go right here to LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, am I talking to customers or am I talking to business owners, or like who do I want to talk to? Do I want to, scrape whichever one? So mostly it's customers, mostly because you're looking for users, personal people. And then we can go to real, and then it's gonna pop up all of these other things that are gonna be on here that I can see with real estate, right? Let's say real estate agents. Then I'm gonna tell it how many emails I want, because it's gonna scrape and it's gonna take its time. Say I want 1,000 emails, okay? So I'm gonna sit here. Did I click on both? Okay, cool. Oh, what's going on? Okay, so I already did that. So let's go with right, cash buyers, right? Okay, let's see this. People who say they're cash buyers, let's go to 1,000 there. Did I already do it? Okay, maybe it's already scraping. Maybe that's why I wouldn't do it. Okay, so what this is gonna do is it's gonna start actually scraping the marketplace. Oh, see, I clicked it twice. So what this is doing right now, and now it's scraping LinkedIn for people who are saying they're real estate agents, right? Because if that's who I'm talking to, it's now sitting there scraping over LinkedIn. And this is all public information. You got to realize this. People, when they go into LinkedIn and they say, hey, this is who I am. I want people to know who I am. I want to be marketed to. I want to be marketed. That's when people like me, marketers, step in and use scrapers to get leads. And this is a lot of times when you guys are buying leads in different spaces and people are selling you leads, most of the time they're doing scraping and they're selling people leads for, you know, $20 to $100 a lead. I sell lead gen, right? Basically, I sell because I have to do the work. And then based off of the working, I have to adjust the campaigns and the scrapes for the people. But in that process, is there somebody doing that? So based off of that is where I'll do my scrapes for my clients and stuff like that and go over and take it. So this is just a faster way for you to get yourself started if you're trying to figure out how to set up calls, get emails out, get your landing page going for your niche, and really focusing in on trying to see what it is to talk to your people or your brand of people in your niche, right? And I'm trying not to make this a lot and over techie. I know that it's absolutely over techie, but what I'm trying to help you do is use a few different tools to skip yourself over the line of everybody else in the space and get yourself going on this, or get yourself into a space where you're starting to talk to people in your space and raising capital with setting them up by talking directly to them. So yeah, that's what the
So that's really helpful. You said that we have access to that.
So I'm going to teach you how I use these things. So
Got
these
it.
things are softwares. This is a software that you'd have to purchase on your own account to be able to use as you choose. I use the premium. I always buy the premium because it verifies the emails, like you guarantee verify the emails. Because what you don't want to do, whatever software or tools you're using for sending out emails, is you don't want to get a bunch of bulky emails that just don't work at all or not verified on a page or something like that. And you want to make sure that as you're sending out this email list that you send them out in sections, depending on what software you're using. You want to send them out you don't ever want to just scrape 500 emails and then put them in a system and send out 500 emails. You always want to drip campaign emails into an email system. So if anybody ever has an email system that you use and you wanted to talk about, and you're like, okay, this is the email system that I'm using, and you wanted me to figure out or talk to you about how to use that software, just let me know as well. But you always want to make sure that when you're scraping emails in a space that you drip campaign. Listen, it's vital that you remember this, because you never want to lose an email situation. And most of that always happens if you just bulk send an email to people and they all have their reactions absolutely fast. Like 5 people in 1 hour, straight up saying this is fraud or this is reporting it is way worse than having 5 people over a 24-hour span, right? So that's what you really have to look at. And what you want to do is drip campaign it out so that people, don't just automatically bulk hit you with a fraud, because when you're cold emailing people, that is also an opportunity to happen. So that's what drip campaigns are for. So I think if I answered your questions.
Yes, thank you. I just have one last question. So when we're using this type of software, because there's email marketing laws and they're not technically opting in to receive email from us.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any compliance issues with that, or is that why we would have to add it to email marketing software slowly?
So the compliance is that if they have their email, so it's tricky here. Okay, so you can't spam blast people, right? So that is also the point of having more of a personal messaging, because you're not allowed to spam blast people. I can't take a bunch of emails and send promotional deals. Does that make sense? But I can educate people. I can send out a message and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing, because it's like me sending out a bulk email of doing that. Now, even people who don't know you will do that. So your compliance is based off of the type of emails you're sending out, because you can't spam people, but you can send out a personal message. That's why it's really important for you to write a system for your brand and put your name in there and stuff like that, so that you're sending out that message. Now, once they send out the messaging, at any point in time, if they're going to uncomply, they can also opt out at any point in time. So that's where that nifty line comes in, where it depends on your type of content. I would say never send out a bulky list. It'd be like, I have this project, invest in it now. That's spam. But if you say, hey, Josh, I'm da 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 da. This is where I'm at. I'm just introducing myself. You're now creating a personal relationship, and that's where you battle. I've never gotten into a battle where I've had to battle that, because even the softwares that I was using, when they see it, they're just like, okay, no, this isn't spam. Okay, you haven't continued sending that person down, because what you can do is filter people out, right? Because reality is the people who respond are going to respond, and you don't keep beating a dead horse if someone's not responding to your messages. You keep going with the people who are opening the messages, setting up calls, stuff like that. But that's why you do the drip campaign as well, because if you get flagged, you will then have to fight the flag. You can win though, as long as your message isn't some like promotional sales.
Hey, Dom, in regards to what you were talking about, I read somewhere if it's like this software is getting it from a LinkedIn page, and if it's on a LinkedIn page, it's public information, and you can use it because it's there.
Correct.
And you need to have an opt-out, of course, option too, so they can jump out and not be a part of it.
Correct. Anybody else got any other questions?
Yeah, Dom, I have a question here. So what about when you're using an email program, and what usually you have to have an email address as the send address?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do there? Do you create a new one, or do you use one that is, I don't know if it's right terminology, but one that is hot and being used, and there's emails going in and out from it, or what do you do there?
So I usually use just the business email. I usually use my info, or I use my personal one most of the time, because I realize that if I'm drip campaigning people out, my system has a smart system that speaks directly through my system and my email. So like as I'm getting these emails I'm sending out, it's connecting directly into my email as the conversations are going across my software. So I always do it from my personal email. Like I said, I'm sending out I'm trying to build a personal relationship with somebody, you know? So even if I'm looking at it as a business, I'm always going to send it from a personal branded number with my brand behind it. Usually it's going to be Dom at, and expertmarketly.io, or Dom at, or info at, if it's my brand name website. And sometimes I'll use a different email if I want to just do that. But I usually don't run into those problems because I don't do heavy skims, right? People who are in the marketing spaces who are trying to send out 10, 20,000 skims emails at a time and build massive relationships like that, and trying to do that, at that type of level, they have to use burner emails and stuff like that. But I don't burn like that. Like, I'm very particular in who I'm trying to work with, and I'm not trying to message 1,000 hopeful people. That's why I say it's better to niche out, because you don't really need to put yourself in a particular situation where you're going against all these bylaws because you're trying to do these massive illegal scrapes when you're talking to the right customer base. So me, I'm only sending out possibly, in an hour, depending on the list, I'm sending out max 100 an hour, and only during business hours. And that's like drip campaigning, right? I'm not going to drip it out at 2 a.m. I'm not going to drip it out. I'm going to drip it out during the daytime while they're working. Then it's going to stop, and it's going to start in the morning again when people are starting at work. And I'm just going to make it practical, right? I always say be practical with some of the things. I think accurate thinking is always missing sometimes when it comes down to what you're really looking at. And what you're really looking at is you're building a personal brand with people, and you're getting people to trust you in any niche that's possible. So it's actually cool to take your time to test it and do your own research, and, do these scrapes and put out emails and see what people are responding, or what they respond to, what they don't respond to, because the reality is knowing that is where your money is in your brand and your business, is talking to the correct customer and getting them on the phone, and, really pitching yourself, and then showing them who you are and why you chose their niche and what you're trying to help them with. They call it the abundant action. So yeah.
Thank you. That helped.
Any questions? Anybody trying to figure out their niche? Anybody just lost? Like, I don't know what my niche should be. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to even decide where to start to find that direct person. Is there anybody out there? Just sitting there like that, trying to figure that out. Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that's me.
Okay.
So I'm just a little confused. So yeah, if we can talk through it. So I'm a nurse.
Okay.
Is that what you mean? That I have kind of like that, I guess, inside knowledge to other registered nurses who, or am I going off this
No,
like the
no, no,
wrong
no.
way?
If you understand the problems of a nurse, okay, right? Like somebody else doesn't, you know, people will find connection in you if you decide to talk in the nurse industry. You will find connections with other nurses who are going through this process, these strenuous hours, right? Do you guys have like a 401k or anything of that sort that you guys get with being a nurse?
Oh yeah, I mean you have not retirement funds, but retirement accounts.
Mhm.
But I guess my question is then, is there kind of like, do you have to have two niches? So like, because we need, no, I'm very lost. Oh, go ahead. Yes, there are
No, no.
retirement accounts. I'm just really confused because like you said earlier, we're supposed to or not supposed to, but there's like pursuing the hedge fund managers, but then this is kind of sidestepping that and going directly to the consumer. Is that what it is?
Okay, so for their brand, just so I can elaborate with this, Kim and them, they're doing major what they call tapes. Okay, so they're doing $1 million tapes, $200,000-$300,000 tapes of notes. Okay, so they're speaking to a brand that is spending a little bit more money. Now, if you are looking to raise capital in a space where people have money, right? Nurses usually make pretty good money, and they usually have these 401ks and their retirement funds, and they can self-direct those retirement funds themselves. Okay? So you can be a B2B note seller or you could be a B2C note seller. That depends on you. So if you're buying 1-2 notes at a time and you're just getting on your feet that way, well then you are talking to the consumer person who has, a certain amount, who possibly owns their home or has a certain amount in their 401k that they want to move from being where there is to self-directing it so that they can make more money, and then that's where you come in. So what you can do, and this is where I would say that your niche is, and you can do it in anything. You don't necessarily have to do it in the nursing community, but because you understand their pain, you're able to talk from a fellow nurse. You're able to talk about nurse stories. You're able to join the nurse community. You're able to fight for them in different ways that somebody who's just a financial advisor could never do. Could never do. Crack a code that they could never do. Now, for you, it just comes down to your brand saying something like, I help nurses retire quicker, or I help nurses retire with 1 or 2 times the amount of money that they would be in there. I always say that your advertisements have to be the most aggressive part, and then really figuring out what they're able or capable to do is after. But when you're looking at it, is you're trying to grab nurses to invest their 401ks, right, or whatever that is, and self-direct it themselves into your brand. And that starts with education. You could write a PDF that says nurse to millionaire real estate, right? Nurse to $1 million industry, right? Like, you don't have to say like I became a millionaire, but I wanted to teach other nurses that there's $1 million industry that they can self-invest themselves in, and you can start to build your own personal brand. So when you pick a niche, you're allowed to spread a lot wider in that niche, in education, in investments, in understanding the game. And when you're good, and I always tell people this, it doesn't matter what niche you're in. When you become good, people find you in all sorts of places, way outside your niche. A lot of people say, well, I won't be able to talk to these people and those people. I said, when you're good at something, right, people will trust you on a few different lanes. A lot easier when you're a master of something than they will if you're just doing something on the other side. So yes, in a breakdown, there's ways to break those down into that niche a little bit differently, right? But you just, for your personal branding, you have to say that you're solving a problem for nurses in the financial space of their future. That's it. And that's your basic niche, is I'm helping nurses secure their financial future. And then from there, there's a lot of things that you can maneuver around to become an absolute expert in the nursing space. And other nurses and influencers in the nursing space, you'll be able to collab with and be like, this is what nurses should do to invest. There's nurses who have podcasts and you go on their podcast. Why? Because you're a nurse wanting to talk about how you learned about this financial situation and got a chance to invest and started receiving your first, couple, checks in the mail, right? It's that kind of brand. That's what micro influential brands do. You're a micro influencer in your own financial space in the industry. And that's what puts you apart from all your other competition. You're not competing versus everybody else is here, because everybody else here, even if they're in your own niche, there's not in the note space is so under tapped. And there's people who fail to get into a niche that they're all in a big space, but you're educating that exact person and you're sending messages to this exact person who nurses. If you say, man, I had a long day as a nurse, so glad I got to relax, getting this check in the mail really helped me out. Bam. And they're going to be like, oh, I'm a nurse getting the check in the mail, and you can say things like, you can fear mongle as well as excite. It's like, I can't believe that I didn't know that I could lose hundreds of thousands of dollars if I didn't self-direct my own personal 401k, or if I didn't self-direct my own personal retirement fund, that I could lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars because these people are getting paid to manage my own money. And that means I have a chance to lose it. But imagine if I could, absolutely be able to, if I was absolutely able to self-direct myself into financial freedom. So that's the type of way that you can kind of look at it on that end. I know, guys, we're pulling up to about an hour right now. So if you guys have any questions or anything else, you got to salt it up. I do have a meeting. I know Patrick just popped in. Big Patrick.
What's up, guys? How's it going? Yeah, we're gonna get on a marketing meeting that happens at 11 o'clock every single Wednesday now with our whole marketing team. But what's up, Kim and Jerry and Anders and David and everybody? How was the meeting, you guys, so far? I didn't mean to bust in and interrupt. Everything good?
Very good. Learning a lot.
Yes, Dominique is dialed in. He's very smart. That's why I get with people like Dominique, because they're way smarter than me. And surrounding yourselves with people that know skills that you don't know very well is very implemental in your business. So cool, man. I just wanted to jump in and make sure he was going to cut to the right time to get on the marketing meeting at 11. You guys have any questions for Dom before he squeaks out?
Thank you, Dom. This was insightful.
Yes, thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
No, your questions definitely help. It helps other people ask more questions. So I appreciate for the questions. June. Okay, we can talk about that, about creating the site and everything else like that for you guys. And how to do that. That is not a problem.
Hey, Dom, what's your take on people that have not done any note deals yet? I don't know if there's anybody on this call like that, but what's your take on people never done a note deal yet, but they are going to take the time and the investment and everything to build like a website and a whole marketing program, and they're going to go out as Joe the Note Bro or whatever. What's your take on that, man?
So my take is basically what we spoke about today, which is know who you're talking to and dial down on who you're talking to. It makes it a lot easier than being in a major space game and trying to talk to everybody and trying to convince any Joe Smo who you possibly think has money, but rather point at a direct person and their problems and solve their solutions, and try to see what it takes to get on the phone with them, because at the end of the day, most of your business is in the front end, because in the back end, the people who really want to invest, they really just want to see you when you have a deal, right? They really want to kind of see you when you have a deal on the table and they want to get invested in something. They really want to see those deals for you to be able to invest in them once you kind of have them in your room, and that they know that you're investing in things and they want to see a deal. So what I said to them today, which is, niche down, drive in, and really figure out how to get your message out to that person, with a quick, sending out cold emails directly to a website, positioning them into trying to set up as many calls as possible, and start to learn from your niche. But yeah, that's what I broke down today. And I think that would be perfect for anybody who has not sold a single deal yet and wants to build a website and wants to get it going, get their branding.
Very cool. Here's what I recommend for you guys. Do a note deal. I know that some of you are laughing at that on here because you've already done a bunch of them, but there's might be some people on here, I don't know, who maybe haven't done one yet. Don't know, but do a deal, guys. You don't need a big website and a big marketing campaign to do so. What you need is a good presentation to present to somebody who has money. So question yourself on here, guys. I'm just reminding my this recently and getting into some new endeavors of the importance of a great pitch or a great presentation in front of the people that have the money. Work on that, guys, because your neighbor might invest with you. You don't have a website, that's okay. Your neighbor might invest with you. You show a good presentation on being a JV partner of yours in a note investment. Okay. So I just want to remind you guys of that. You can have all the best sales and marketing teams in the world, but if you don't know what you're presenting to people, like Dom is saying, who are you presenting to? What problem are you solving for them? You got to think of that. All right. So love y'all. Hey, we're going to snap off this call and get on our sales and marketing call. I hope you guys enjoyed today with Dominique. I know you did, because he's brilliant. So thank you, Dominique, for your time, buddy. And we'll go hop on the sales marketing call. And we'll see the rest of y'all Saturday. Cool, guys.